Now, we've looked at some of the tech trends of what to expect for 2018 and some of the up-and-coming gadgets to look out for, but there's another area of science that is filled with wonder and excitement. I'm talking about astronomy and the Sky Guide 2018 that's just been released. Now in its 72nd year, it is South Africa's very own astronomical handbook, and it covers the upcoming year's planetary movements, predicted eclipses, and meteor showers, just to give you an example. And joining us is one of the book's contributors, Dr. Ian Glass, who has been working predominantly at the SA Astronomical Observatory in Cape Town since the 70s, a man with a lifetime of experience. Dr. Ian Glass, good morning, and it's great to have you here.
Morning, Zoe.
Well, before we dig into what the Sky Guide 2018 is all about and what people can expect from it, do people often, confuse astronomy with astrology?
Yeah, that's one of the things we astronomers absolutely hate, because astronomy is about science, astrology is about fortune telling and all kinds of non-scientific outlook on life and so on.
Well, you've dedicated your life to this. What is it about space that's, kept you captivated and wanting more?
Well, I started interested in mathematics and physics as a student, and then in my doctorate, it was just the time when all the famous space experiments were just starting, the beginning of the space age. So there are all kinds of interesting pieces of information coming down. So the fact that things in space, which we can't reach, obey the same physical laws as the things we can measure all around us in the labs and so on, that really interested me. So things as far away as galaxies and distant stars, they all obey these same physical laws. So I'm what you call an astrophysicist, not an astronomer, strictly speaking.
Okay, very, very interesting, Dr. Ian Glass. And let's talk about the Sky Guide 2018. I mean, you guys put a lot of work into it. What can people expect from it?
Well, it's intended for all levels of astronomy, starting from people like teenagers who suddenly become interested in astronomy, right through to professionals. And you might think that's surprising, but just because it tabulates where all the planets are and the major stars and what events are coming up and so on. So it's really a useful reference book, as well as being a kind of introduction to astronomy.
Is it possible, can it predict everything for the year? Is it possible to do things like that?
Well, some things you can predict thousands of years ahead, like the positions of the planets and the moon and so on. But some things are unpredictable. Like we know meteor showers are going to happen at certain times, but we don't know if they're going to be spectacular or just blah, blah. And there are other things like comets that come. Sometimes we get a completely unexpected bright comet. We know it maybe only a few months in advance. And sometimes even the comets that come around again and again, we don't know how bright they're going to be, because it depends on a lot of different things.
Many factors that play a role. Now, the book is the 72nd year. What goes into producing the Sky Guide?
Well, in its present form, which is about 15 years, it's a lot of work. We have Auke Slotograph as the editor, and he spends several months of the year. In fact, he's starting already on the next one.
Okay.
But he has to gather together all the information that comes from observatories, from almanac offices, from other astronomers, all kinds of sources. And so that all has to be put together. He has to make up the tables which are specific to South Africa. And he even does things like predict where the moon's going to be at the beginning of Ramadan. So if you're in Cape Town or Durban or even in Mecca, you can more or less predict when you're going to see the moon for the first time and so on.
It's very, very interesting. Well, Dr. Ian Glass will still be with us a little bit later, and we'll unpack a little bit more of the cosmic highlights of what to expect for 2018. So don't go anywhere. Keep your eyes locked on to your Feel Good Breakfast Show.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Well, we're back on the couch with Dr. Ian Glass, who's been predominantly working at the SA Astronomical Observatory in Cape Town, and the man with a lifetime of experience. Doctor, it's great to have you back on the show as we continue to talk about the Sky Guide 2018 that's recently been released. What, in your opinion, are some of the highlights we can look forward to for 2018?
Well, I think the big thing this year is the total eclipse of the moon. That'll happen on July the 27th. And we're especially well situated to look at it, because you can see the whole thing from beginning to end, from when the moon starts getting shadow till it's fully out, till it starts coming back again. And the moon is especially interesting. We get about 2 to 4 eclipses a year, but usually hardly any as good as this one.
Okay.
Sun is different. we only get one eclipse in a while. The next one in South Africa is in 2030.
Okay, so it's still a while, at least another 12 years.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
definitely something to take note of in the calendar. And is it true that around that time you'll also be able to see 5 planets in a row?
Yes, there are 2 months of the year, July and October, when we'll actually see all 5 planets, not in a row, but at the same time in the sky.
Same time, sorry, I meant that. Not in a row.
Yeah.
But also, you know, you guys have been working on an exciting thing, the biggest radio telescope in the Karoo. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, this is going to be the biggest radio telescope in the world. It's a very long-term project, very expensive project, like a $2 billion project.
Sure.
It's got the precursor telescope called Meerkat. It's already built. It's just about ready to start operation. There are 64 big antennas like that one. And but the final SKA will have something like 200 to start with, the first phase. But it'll carry on, and the whole idea is called square kilometer array, because if you put the area of all the dishes together, it should come to 1 square kilometer. So a huge installation.
A huge installation. How far are you guys now with the progress?
Yeah, it's just starting this
Okay.
year, that part. And I think mostly the problem is it's an international project. South Africa doesn't have to pay all that $2 billion. A lot of it's coming from foreign sources, and a lot of it will be spent in South Africa, and it'll lead to a lot of jobs and training opportunities for South Africans.
I think that's wonderful. And by when do they hope to have finished that project?
Well, the real finish could go on forever, but
Okay.
I think it'll be ready for some kind of use in the early 2020s.
Okay, and Doctor, before you leave us today, what was your favorite part about working on the Sky Guide?
Oh, actually, my favorite part is going through it and looking for errors, because it's surprising how easy it is for somebody to creep in, because when you write something, you read what you thought you wrote, not what you wrote.
Okay.
So it's very good that somebody else looks at it as well.
Well, Dr. Ian Glass, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And if you'd love to know more, just make sure you get yourselves the Sky Guide 2018. It's available in all major bookstores.